Great sadness, I rise to ask that we adjourn in memory of Senator Dianne Feinstein, a visionary leader whose impact on our nation and on our state is profound and enduring. Senator Feinstein's legacy stands tall above all of us. She was just a true trailblazer, serving as San Francisco's first female mayor, California's first female senator, and the first Jewish female senator. She is our nation's longest serving woman in the Senate in the entire history of the United States. She was a true inspiration, a hero, and a role model to so many people, but particularly to young women who could see in Dianne Feinstein someone who was able to truly move to the pinnacle. One of the most powerful and impactful elected officials in the entire nation in modern American history. Dianne Feinstein was a leader who met the moment. In 1978, a very traumatic time period in San Francisco when our mayor and Supervisor Harvey Milk, Mayor George Moscone, were assassinated in City Hall. Senator Feinstein became mayor at that point, and she really helped the city that was reeling restore a sense of self and a sense that there was hope for the future. Senator Feinstein's tenure in elected office was marked by many things, but one that stands out is her relentless advocacy for gun safety measures. She led the successful enactment of the federal assault weapons ban in 1994. She never stopped fighting for public safety. And in the aftermath of the Sandy Hook mass shooting, when children were killed in school, she again pushed to reauthorize that assault weapons ban and to ensure that such horrific acts of violence would never happen again. She was a champion for civil rights. She advocated for full equality for women, for LGBTQ people. I will also just say that when she was mayor of San Francisco in the early 1980s, when HIV began to cause a mass die-off of primarily, not only, but primarily gay men, we had a federal government that completely ignored HIV, that ignored the fact that so many people were dying, and that did nothing to help our community and to help save people's lives. Dianne Feinstein, under her leadership, San Francisco became the model of how to fight HIV. There was a point in time when San Francisco was spending more to address HIV than the entire federal government was spending. And that's because of amazing advocacy in the community, but it would never have happened without the support and leadership of Dianne Feinstein. In the 1980s, she was ahead of her time. Dianne Feinstein is just a true hero for so many of us. I had the honor of knowing her, of having her support as someone, no one knew who I was, but Senator Feinstein took a chance on me and supported me. And I will never forget that. And so many in our community will never forget what she contributed to San Francisco, to California, and to our entire country. May she rest in peace, and I ask that we adjourn in the memory of this great leader.
Senator Pro Tem Atkins.
Thank you, Madam President. And I don't want to repeat what was said by my colleague from San Francisco, but there is so much you can say. I did want to share a little bit more of a perspective from San Diego. I remember when she was the U.S. Senator, and San Diego was a little bit more conservative than it is today. I served on a city council that was a majority Republicans. But I will tell you, she focused on regions of California. She was from San Francisco, and she could represent San Francisco, but she could represent San Diego. And I know my colleagues here remember when she would come down at the behest of the Chamber of Commerce and would have lunches with us to hear what our issues were across the spectrum in San Diego. A person who could take intractable issues and try to find solutions. Water, issues around agriculture, and clearly issues around support for the LGBTQ plus community, gun control, really a pillar and a role model for women at every level of government. This was a representative that could balance so much and really represent California, the vastness of California, the demographics, the issues, the stakeholders. And I think she deserves our full recognition today for all of that. But a funny story, I will never forget when I was the speaker in waiting, and Speaker Perez decided I needed to go to Washington, D.C. in December while we were out of session. And I didn't make it. The airport shut down. I was stuck in the middle of the country, but Speaker Perez was in D.C., and he had a long list of meetings for us, one of which was to go in and talk with Senator Dianne Feinstein. Every single meeting was canceled but one, and that was Senator Feinstein. She was there. The snow, offices were shut down, it was snowing, and Speaker Perez called me and said, I'm so sorry you went for no reason. He said, oh, I didn't go for no reason. Senator Feinstein met with me and put me through all of the issues, water, what are we doing on this? What do you need help? The litany. So her office was the only one there that day. And since then, I was able to go a number of times, both as speaker and pro tem. And I would tell you, you needed to know what you were going to talk to her about. You needed to know at a very deep level the issues, because she would have questions and she wanted to know your take on it from every perspective. So I would tell you, we were well served in California by this great, great woman, this great representative. And I think it's right that we do this today as soon as we possibly could. And I want to thank the senator from San Francisco for bringing this forward so quickly so that we could pay tribute and honor to an incredible, incredible person. I adjourn in her memory, and I know that you all have your own stories and your own thoughts, but it's right that we do this today. So thank you.
Senator Dodd.
Madam President, members, I thank the senator from San Francisco and our pro tem, the senator from San Diego, for their great comments. And I had the opportunity to be at San Francisco City Hall to pay my respects to her. For 15 years, I was a county supervisor in Napa County, and I was just totally amazed by the capabilities of Senator Dianne Feinstein. Certainly, long before I got into politics, her reign as the county supervisor and mayor of San Francisco were legendary. But when I had the opportunity to work with her, like on the Napa County Flood Control Project, very complicated project, and we wanted the Army Corps of Engineers. It was about $650 million we were trying to get for a small county like Napa from the federal government. And she came in, and I think to the point that the pro tem made, she was well dialed in. She knew more about our project than the mayor of Napa and I did. It was not really embarrassing. It just showed me what great staff work it is too. But the same thing when I was chair of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. We'd come in and she would have her list of things that she wanted to cover. And I had the opportunity, I was very proud to get her support over the years and her friendship. But more importantly, I think I never once saw her phone it in, and worked hard all the way to the end. It was unfortunate what happened to her at the end, but at the end of the day, all I have, my memories of Senator Feinstein will always go down as very, very positive. Thank you.
Senator Bradford.
Thank you, Madam President, and I'm honored to stand and adjourn in memory as Vice Chair of the Legislative Black Caucus and pay tribute to Senator Dianne Feinstein. Quite simply stated, She dedicated her life to public service. And as the longest serving woman in the Senate, she was a true trailblazer who served the state with strength, with vision, and always with compassion. And I remember one of my first meetings to DC as an assembly person, we met with Senator Dianne Feinstein, and as stated, she provided herself directly, not staff. She met with us directly and really engaged us on what was important for California. And I really appreciate that conversation and that dialogue. As stated, her career was forged through the horrible tragedy of the violence that took the life of Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk. And this tremendous loss came to define her path. It fueled her unwavering resolve to pass groundbreaking gun control laws and ban assault weapons here in this country. Senator Feinstein was an unwavering supporter of BAPAC, the Black American Political Action Committee, that was, Association of California, I should say, which was founded by one of her former staffers and her good friend and a mentor of mine, the late Percy Pinckney. Dianne Feinstein's support and commitment to inclusion inspired many African Americans to not only get involved in public service, but also to run for office. A true giant has left us, members. I join with my colleague from San Francisco in paying tribute and recognizing and expressing my deep gratitude and admiration for this California icon, for her lifelong service and her leadership that made our nation better, safer, and stronger. And one of my most cherished possessions is a piece of art. A lot of folks don't know she did art. And in one of my visits, she gave me a framed piece of art that she had done. So I'm honored to have that and cherish that, and we'll hold on to it internally. So I also add my voice and ask this that we adjourn in memory of Senator Dianne Feinstein.
Senator Umberg.
Thank you, Madam President, colleagues, and thank you, my colleague from San Francisco, for bringing this forth. I was an admirer of Senator Feinstein, then council member, then Mayor Feinstein, since I was in law school. And the assassination happened, I ran right over to City Hall and saw her strength, her passion, her dedication to the people of San Francisco, and following on, her dedication to the people of California. Had personal interaction with her quite frequently. Some of you know I did drugs in Washington, D.C. for 3 years. Maybe I should rephrase that. I was in the drug czar's office. I was the deputy drug czar for 3 years, and Senator Feinstein was very much engaged in that issue, very much engaged in that issue. And she was quite critical of the Clinton administration, wherein I served, and we were going to have a hearing on the relationship between Mexico and the United States in terms of our mutual drug efforts. And she was critical of both countries, and I was the administration's representative to testify. So the day before, I went to her office to sort of have a conversation about it, and she was as passionate as she always was and as dedicated, although we had known one another for a long time. And at the end, she said, young man, you had better gird your loins, which was a bit ominous for the next day. And so I appeared the next day. My loins were girded, but she definitely was passionate, tough on both countries, but that was emblematic of Senator Feinstein. Senator Feinstein was tough, she was passionate, she was dedicated because she was devoted to the people of the state of California. And it was my honor to serve in the administration and to interact with Senator Feinstein. She did come up afterwards and said, I hope you didn't take that personally. No, I didn't, Senator, that you told me to gird my loins and then you took advantage. But in any event, we are fortunate to have had her service for as long as we had. We in California owe a great deal to Senator Feinstein, and I join with others in urging that we adjourn her memory.
Senator Nilo.
Thank you, Madam President. I knew Dianne Feinstein, not well, but I had many occasions to visit Washington, D.C. with our local Chamber of Commerce. She always met with us, didn't always agree, but as a measure of a person and as a measure of character And as a measure of a representative of the people, she was truly top rate. My nephew actually worked for her in the district. And for the time that he worked for her, he was her chauffeur. So he got to know her. And I can tell you from that perspective, he could not have had a better and more responsive and kinder boss than Senator Feinstein. And I can back that thoughtfulness up with a personal experience. On one of the trips that I took back to Washington, D.C., way back in the 90s when we were working here to try to save McClellan as an Air Force base, and by the way, parenthetically, I think we've been better off with that as a private sector development, but nonetheless, I was going to meet with her staff people. This was when Richard Nixon had passed away, and everybody was leaving town for his funeral. And I entered her office, and the receptionist was there, and I introduced myself, and so she was going to let the staff member know. And then she left the office for a short period of time, so I was in the reception area by myself. The senator came rushing through with a couple of other staff people, clearly in a hurry, and I knew why, and just walked through and disappeared into the back offices, about which I didn't think anything in particular. But a couple minutes later, she came back out into the reception area by herself and walked up to me and she said, "Are you being helped?" Now, that tells me a measure of a person's concern about another person. I told her, no, the receptionist just is out for a moment. I'm meeting with one of your staff people. Thank you very much. But as I say, that's a measure of a person who cares. And I join my colleagues in adjourning in her memory today.
Senator Eggman.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to rise and also add another woman's voice to the conversation. So I rise on behalf of the Women's Caucus, and just say, as a person who grew up in Northern California, Dianne Feinstein has long been an icon. And I just want to talk about how representation matters. My people have heard me talk about my family are immigrants from Mexico, and my mother was the first to register to vote and talked the rest of the family into registering to vote so they could vote for JFK because he was a Catholic. And I can tell you, when Dianne Feinstein was in San Francisco, and during that horrible 1978, and then became mayor, it was so iconic for my mom, who was of her age, to be able to look and see a woman representing us. And I think we can't underplay enough how much representation matters on all aspects of ourselves, on all parts of our identity, that if somebody can look to us and know that there's hope and there's representation in their own democracy and they're reflected in some kind of way, and that they do that with strength and dedication and compassion and caring, I just think that truly what it means to be a public servant. So I thank her for her service and for her inspiration, and may we adjourn in her memory.